Hello and welcome to another episode of the Online Marketing Show. Today, I wanted to talk all about social media pet peeves. I recently posted a reel and I'm doing a bit of a series over on my Instagram about my social media pet peeves. And to be honest, I thought the response would be pretty negative. I thought people would feel maybe a little bit um, disheartened on what they were doing on social media. But it did not happen that way. I actually had a huge response from people kind of mimicking my own thoughts, saying that they agreed with me, as well as people saying that, like, oh my God, I do this and I didn't even know that it wasn't a good thing to do. I was told to do it by another guru. So I wanted to sit down today and just record a little bit of a breakdown of what my pet peeves are as a social media manager. Today, I have 5 key things that I consider my pet peeves on social media. The first one has to be people who put followers as the number one. Like, they want 10,000 followers. They want to buy followers so that they get that number, they get that vanity metric. That is my biggest and most annoying pet peeve. I absolutely despise it when people put follower numbers first. And there's a few reasons for this, but the most important one, I think, is that followers are not the be all and end all. And I think for a long time, they were considered the be all and end all. So, as someone who works in social media and is encouraging people to create content for engagement as their biggest priority in most cases, or for conversion as their priority, I don't see the value in thousands upon thousands of unengaged followers, of followers who are bots, who are just numbers. For any of you who follow me on Instagram, I talk about this on my stories actually quite a lot, that I will go through and clear any bot or spam followers that I can find in my following list. Don't get me wrong, it's a really old account, so there's a few of them, but I actively, maybe once a month or so, will go and continuously just drop down anybody in there who is either got no profile picture, no posts, they're not an active user, because I think engagement rate is actually a much more valuable figure that we should be tracking and should be putting more of an onus on being the priority. Rather than right now, I still to this day get a lot of people come to me as potential clients going, we want 10,000 followers. And when I ask them why, their reasoning doesn't match up. They're like, well, because we want to make loads of sales. I'm like, yeah, but followers won't necessarily give you sales. The priority should always be on building an engaged audience. There is a few different resources about this, but one book talks about your 1,000 true fans, your 1,000 true followers, and how having 1,000 people be genuinely interested in what you do is so much more valuable than having the 10,000. That it seems to be this like magic number. 10K months, 10K followers seems to be the one people are after. The second point of my pet peeve around social media and bad practice in social media is people who don't connect with their own audience. If you are listening to this or watching the YouTube replay of this and you are somebody who develops content, you post it out every day, multiple times a day maybe, but you never answer your comments or you never spend 20 minutes to do some outbound engagement activities on your own profiles, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are leaving money on the table because that is where you see the golden success on Instagram, in my opinion. This has become more and more popular, especially on Instagram, with the likes of the Gary Vaynerchuk £1.80 or $1.80 strategy, where you leave your quote unquote 2 cents on everybody's posts. But it is something that I see an awful lot of with small business owners, right? With solopreneurs, online coaches who are trying to juggle a million different things. You're trying to build a launch and create a course, and answering those comments comes last on your list. As far as I'm concerned, it needs to be a priority. If you had a phone call from a potential customer, you would not ignore it. These people leaving comments on your social media accounts are potentially future customers. So if they're asking a couple of questions around your niche, is what it takes to take them from somebody who is just inquiring to being a customer, that is going to be your easiest sale ever. And all you have to do is spend 20 minutes a day answering your social media and reaching out to your followers and who you're following on social media. Commonly in the industry, I hear a lot of people refer to this as posting and ghosting. And one thing that I'm seeing lately is that people are saying if you leave your app, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, if you've posted, you should leave the app, because apparently the app will want you back on the account, so you'll get more people see your content because you'll get more push notifications for likes, and it'll bring you back to the app. I think this is a risky tactic because I don't think this has been proven yet. I don't think this has been confirmed by anyone. So if that is not the case, then you're kind of fighting with the algorithm, because the first hour after posting, we know is a crucial time period. If you can be active and commenting within that first hour, then it's probably going to mean that your post will see more success. But this new rise of hashtag gurus telling people to quit the app the second they post is not going to be supportive to that breakdown. And when I say that this hasn't been proven, this hasn't been confirmed by the social media platforms, the other option has. The fact that the 1 hour after you post being important has been confirmed or near enough. So I would say you need to go with the research. Absolutely test and try everything. When you're told something about social media, give it a whirl and see how it works for you. But don't completely change what you're doing, and keep in the back of your mind what we know and what we've been told from Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth. And the fact that they have told us that the first hour is something that impacts how your post will perform would lead me to say you're probably going to be better off hanging around and answering your comments immediately than kind of quitting and waiting with the hopes that you'll get more push notifications. However, I'm very happy here to hold my hands up and say if anyone can prove me wrong and say that they know that this works and they've got tests on it, please let me know and I will be happy to update this if there are any changes. It's kind of similar to the idea of the saving being like a number one priority that went round a while ago. I'm sure it does consider itself as a big piece of engagement and is probably beneficial. But a couple of months ago, there was this really big push that like everyone's posts said, save this for later, save this for later. And that's kind of died down now. And I think the same is going to happen with this rumor. Moving on to my third pet peeve when it comes to social media. I see an awful lot of business owners posting absolutely everywhere. They're on every single platform under the sun and they're struggling to keep it all up. I don't think that posting everywhere is necessary. Probably controversial for a social media manager. I will say within my business, Red Digital, most of our packages do offer 3 different platforms for management. That is the standard that we stick to. But we do tailor those platforms to the ideal customer. If someone was to tell me that they were a makeup brand and their ideal customer were people under the age of 25, and they were based in a certain locale, all of these details, I would take some of that and make an educated assumption of where I should be. I'm going to say in that instance, they're not going to be on LinkedIn. Your ideal customer, who is ultimately who you're creating social media content for, you're not just doing it for fun or for value. They are not going to be on LinkedIn for the most part. You might find a few, but the majority of your audience is going to be on the likes of Instagram and TikTok. So, with that being said, if you are a executive coach, being on TikTok probably isn't the right time for you right now. Maybe have an account and do some in the background when you have free time, but going all in on these platforms, I would say, is not maybe the most appropriate place for a business to business, service based business like executive coaches to sit. So when you are creating content and having to create new content for multiple different platforms and almost wipe yourself out. I really think that it's not a valuable use of your time. Whereas if you took a little bit extra time in the platforms that you know you're going to succeed in, and maybe do an extra post or two a week on those platforms, or use that time to be more polished in what you're creating, mean that you're able to create more interesting and exciting content pieces, I'm going to go for that option every time. I'm going to tell you, you don't need to post everywhere, but you should post well on the places that you know work. And coming off the back of this, I'm going to go straight into my next pet peeve, which is for all of you who are posting on multiple different platforms, make sure you are tailoring your content to that platform. I don't want to see one post that's split into a tweet that is 4 different tweet threads long. Absolutely not. Just shorten down your one post. And if it's an extended thought, yes, use threads. But if it's not, then it shouldn't be just that the same post is copied and pasted without being updated. Another really, really annoying example of this is so often on Instagram, I see people copy and paste what's on their Facebook page and they send out links through their Instagram posts that are not clickable, not copyable, so pretty much useless, and they just look bad. It takes 2 seconds to change the line to say, go and view the link in bio to visit my website, instead of providing a link that is unusable and give people the next step of where to go. But I think this kind of ties in. I think these two are very connected, where the reason people aren't tailoring their content and aren't spending that time is because they're trying to churn out content on every single platform and they simply don't have the time to develop it in the way that they would like to. However, it is something that will see you suffer in the algorithm of every platform if you're not playing by the rules and if you're not keeping things up to date. Another thing I want to mention here is image and video sizes. How many of us have seen awkward videos that have been uploaded where the aspect ratios have been wrong and they've been stretched or compressed and they just look strange? Or how many of us have seen images where the preview, you can't even see the picture that you're looking at because it's not an ideal size for that platform? When you're on social media, when our attention spans are as short as they are in this day and age, every second counts. And if that second is your nice square image that fills up the whole of their page and they can see all the details versus a badly cropped version, that's not going to have you see much success on social media. And I don't mean that to be disheartening to anyone. I mean it as a form of education. These are my pet peeves because they are such common mistakes that are made. A great resource for fixing this problem when it comes to images and videos is using editing software. But if you have a video editor, amazing. If not, then Canva can actually work for the both. They recently have launched their video editing software on the platform, and there is resize options on the paid account that are super, super simple to use, or you can manually resize it if you are on the free account. You can still make your images the right size. It's just a little bit more finicky, that's all. And finally, my last pet peeve of today's episode is probably going to be the one that you've all heard a million times over. And it's one that I'm guilty of committing, and that is a lack of consistency. It can be so tough for us all to stay tuned in and stay updated online when we are busy and working all the time offline, especially when you get a lot of bookings or a lot of clients and you're trying to manage the two things. I have all the sympathy in the world because I am a victim to it myself, but it can actually set you on the back foot. It's one thing that I fall victim to 100%. When we are busy, we have to pull resource off the red accounts. My mind goes elsewhere from running my own accounts, and we are no longer trying to attract people to us. It's understandable that when you're busy, it's something that does become bottom of the to-do list. But in the businesses that we work in, for the most part, there is some level of churn. There is some level of needing to bring on more business, whether that's that customers have left you or whether it's you need to make more investments. So you need to increase the cash within your business. Looking for more customers is often firstly done through social media. Now, this is going to be a bit of a contradiction to a lot of the stuff I say around social media isn't a sales tactic, social media is a brand awareness tactic, and all of those sorts of messages that I've put out in the past. So I just want to clarify here that I am by no means contradicting what I'm saying when I say that social media should be first and foremost for your brand awareness. It should, okay? But there is a caveat to that, where brand awareness is often the top level of your sales funnel. It is often that place where people fall into when they first find you and can ultimately filter down and become a customer. I'm not saying that you should be posting sales ads every day on social media because it's going to give you customers. I'm saying that the people who find you through social media may one day become a customer of yours. So this lack of consistency also will lead to down the 6 to 12 week route, a lack of consistency in leads, a lack of consistency in inquiries. And I've seen it happen all too often where a business has gotten really busy and had to halt everything. And then when things have eased up, they have realized that, oh, we don't have anything coming up and we are losing customers or people are reaching the end of their contracts. What are we going to do now? And then there's this panic element where they start to post on social media twice a day for like 2 to 3 weeks. And then they have this point again where they burn out and they're unable to continue posting. It would be so much more valuable to all of us to get out of that all or nothing mindset and instead schedule out in advance for 6 to 12 weeks in the future. Now, don't get me wrong, that is a long lead time, and there are going to be cases where things are going to get outdated. So I don't think that you should schedule everything for that long in advance. But if you are working on a product launch, for example, or a challenge, I know a lot of the coaches that listen to me do 5-day challenges. If you're having one of those within the next 12 weeks and you know it's going to get busy close to that time, all of the information about that challenge is going to be relevant now and in 10 weeks' time. So if you start to schedule out in advance so that when you have only 2 weeks left to your big event and you're rammed and you're answering emails and phone calls and you're trying to be everywhere at once, you've got yourself a bit of a head start where some of the work has been pre-done for you. So this lack of consistency that is the biggest pet peeve of mine doesn't just apply to not posting, it applies to posting irregularly. I think the most valuable thing that you can do for your business is create a routine around your social media and your marketing. Knowing that I'm going to post on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, because those are the days that do best for me, is going to make it a lot more easy for you to be held accountable. And I just gave the example of 3 times a week because that is what I can personally commit to. I very much struggle to keep up with stories, to keep up with posting if I go over and start to do 4 to 5 times a week on my personal brand accounts. So I commit to 3 times a week because that is what is reasonable for me to be sending out without causing undue stress, without making it difficult for me to fit it into my day-to-day life as a business owner and as a human who has a life outside of their work. So I would highly recommend that you find what works for you. Although I know that 5 times a week would be more beneficial for me and likely would generate more success quickly, it is all about finding that balance between what is feasible and reasonable for you to continue. I really want to kind of point out the obvious here that these are all my pet peeves when they're done intentionally and they're done negatively. I by no means think that you should all be the perfect social media person, that you should follow best practice down to a T. We are all human. We all are trying to do well and promote our businesses while still maintaining some level of sanity in our normal day-to-day lives. So I already think there is a lot of pressure around business owners and what we should and shouldn't be doing to promote ourselves. So I really do not want you to listen to this podcast and take away all of these extra activities that you need to do to succeed in your business. Absolutely not. You can be a successful business person when you're posting once a week and you're never ever answering comments and you're putting follower numbers first, and all of my pet peeves added together. So I hope that this has proved useful. I hope that there have been a few points of interest that hopefully have educated you and inspired you, or maybe even answer that question as to why aren't things working the way that I thought they were. Maybe you are falling into one of these traps of doing one of these pet peeves. The next episode that I'm going to be filming is actually going to be about our pet peeves with the platforms. So I don't want to talk about what we're all doing as users. So I'm hoping to be joined by a fabulous guest speaker who is going to sit and we're going to discuss the pros and cons of Instagram and some of the not so positive changes that we've noticed come out on the platform recently. So please make sure that you stay subscribed to the channel, whether you're listening on podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify, or whether you're watching the video episode on YouTube. I really appreciate you listening in, and I look forward to catching you in the next episode.